Okay, now for real this time, we are actually less than a week away from the end of ARTFIGHT, literally less than 24 hours away as of posting this video. Now, I post my videos on Friday, and I know some of y'all sneaky sneaks out there like to upload your art attacks at the very last minute so that the team point scales change dramatically. So, because I don't want to exclude any art given or received in the last few days of ARTFIGHT just because I need to uphold my upload schedule, I am splitting this week into 2 parts. So, welcome to ARTFIGHT Week 5 Part 1, where I bring you 7 beautiful characters, and let me tell you, this week kinda funky, but let's get straight into it. As many of us know, the panic really starts setting in towards the end of ARTFIGHT. Either your bookmarked list has not yet been finished, or you haven't revenged all the attacks that you've received, so you just start making as much art as you can, and any way you know how, just to push through the art block. And my big thing whenever I get art block is to start turning my art into art studies to keep my mind forcibly engaged. And so in a very weird way, every single art piece that I work on this week is a little different in one way or another, either in style or in process or in structure. For Plush Fairy's character, Athrea, the answer was just kind of obvious. With her flowy dresses and the movement that Plush Fairy put in all the references, it was time to do a dynamic dancing study. But before I go deeper into that, again, I'm going to apologize for the pronunciations of character names and usernames in this video. Plush Fairy did actually send me a note on how to pronounce Athrea, which is so appreciated, but also if I'm still doing it wrong, then I don't even know anymore. Back to the pose. I did not come up with this pose by myself. Honestly, I don't want credit for the composition at all because this is 100% just a reskin of YumiAoi's incredible artwork, just with Plush Fairy's character. Even down to the lighting and the particles, it is very, very similar. Personally, and hear me out because this might be a hot take, I think it's okay. Art is kind of about seeing something and figuring out how to recreate it on your own or in your own style. It's something I think about a lot, especially since I'm literally recording my entire drawing process and posting it online. I always have this subconscious pressure that my art needs to be 100% from memory, no pose references, no nothing. But you know, that's kind of fake pressure because literally a huge portion of art school is about learning to successfully recreate a specific art style or a specific image in order to improve your art. All that being said, stealing art is completely different. Tracing art and claiming it as yours is not okay, and since I am better than AI, I know how to give credit, so huge appreciation to YumiAoi and all the credit for the composition and like the style and all that. Okay, now that I've rambled on about my insecurities for a minute and a half, let's focus on this gorgeous girl, Athrea Maeani. Athrea is a blade singing drow, and it only seemed fair to draw Plush Fairy's blade singer since she drew Isagwyn, my blade singer halfling. Plush Fairy describes Athrea as a very kind person who sees the best in everyone, but she wasn't always that way. Athrea's mother was an avid worshipper of Lolth, the Spider Queen, and being raised in the Underdark is certainly not sunshine and roses. The turning point for Athrea was her younger half-brother Keshin, who was bullied and harassed mercilessly in the Underdark. Athrea took Keshin and left the Underdark, turning from Lolth and finding solace in the church of Eilistrai, a goddess of beauty, song, and dance. Of course, even though there is sunshine outside of the Underdark, it is not as idyllic as Athrea might have hoped. However, she has still forged her own path and begun her adventuring journey with her newfound party, often writing letters back to Keshin to tell him of her adventures. But lately, letters from Keshin have not been returned, and Athrea is starting to worry. And on that cliffhanger of an ending, we are at the end of piece number 1. Once again, Plush Fairy's Athrea. What a beautiful character design. I love her green-blue eyes, and I love a girl that just leans into girly things. Do dance, wield sword, S tier, 10 out of 10. This is Plush Fairy's very first year of ARTFIGHT, and honestly, she has done an amazing job. If you happen to be looking to add someone to your bookmarks last minute or for next year, or if you're just looking for a new artist to check out, I highly recommend stopping by her ARTFIGHT, Tumblr, or Toy House account. As always, links are below. Piece number 2, just in case, I want to put in a quick little bug warning. There will be drawing and mention of bug and bug themed characters for this next piece, so if that is not for you, feel free to skip ahead to the next drawing in order to respect your personal comfort levels. This is a drawing of Nikki Knight's characters, Kristin and Kristin's moth girlfriend, who is currently unnamed, but she is still very cute. I was originally only going to draw Kristin because moth girlfriend is, you know, not listed as an art fight character available for points, but my arbitrarily decided upon canvas dimensions, coupled with the fact that I was having a bad art day and wasn't feeling super up to rendering, resulted in my decision to draw 2 characters for the art fight points of 1, but not fully rendered because I was EB and Neeby to sleepy. Kristin is part of a world where all the characters have some sort of bug or arachnid trait associated with them. So Kristin is like Medusa, except instead of snakes, her hair is made of maggots. And moth girlfriend has little moth antenna and 4 arms, and I think she also has wings, but I'm gonna be honest, I completely forgot that she had 4 arms anyways. I had to go back and render those in after the fact. Girl, I wasn't even thinking about wings. I do apologize. Truly, I should apologize to everyone who's getting art in this last week of art fight while I'm in drink iced coffee panic attack mode. I'm not on top of anything at all this week. Genuinely, Nikki Knights deserved so much better than just a sketch from me because they drew such a cute calliope for me and their art style is amazing and so animated, and I was just like, haha, bugs. But these characters in particular really appealed to me. Honestly, all of Nikki Knights' characters do. They all have a very clean, crisp, lively, and saturated art style and rendering. I have such art envy for it. But the 2 reasons for why I chose Kristin is, number 1, the art fightiest reason of them all. Kristin had the fewest number of art attacks made for her. And number 2, they have such a monster high energy about them. And while I never actually seriously interacted with the franchise, the monster high advertisements and characters had a chokehold on my art style and character designs when I was 11, so it just seemed like the thing to do. Even though it is really just a sketch with a bunch of flats, I do like the looseness of lines that are unlined and unrendered. They're so free, so unrestricted, so arbitrary, and I just want Nikki Knights to know that just because for sanity reasons all I brought forth is this meager drawing of bugs, I absolutely adore drawing these girls. They're such fun character designs. Magorgon, Magadusa. It's not something I ever would have thought of on my own, and I'm just so glad that people are out here existing with these sorts of character ideas in their brains. But that brings us to the end of drawing number 2, Kristin and Moth. What a couple of cuties, and what a joy it was to draw them. This was also Nikki Knight's first art fight, and I'm so honored they stopped by my page. They have such a nice range of characters. If you happen to be looking to fit a few more in, they got Gremlin, they got Emo, they got Hot Girl, they got the collect them all. Nikki Knight also can be found on DeviantArt, Instagram, and Twitter, so please do check them out, if not for art fight, just for the tasty art, because it is good stuff. Number 3, we are yet again switching gears and drawing in the art style that is simultaneously my art style and not at all my art style. And by that I mean line art. This drawing is a revenge because what else could I possibly be doing in the last week of art fight? This is for YumiAoi, who made me this super cute Isagwen avatar. I was particularly drawn to their character Tasha, who's the youngest of 3 sisters. Tasha's oldest sister Kana is very kind and sweet and owns a toy shop. The middle sister is Anka, who's described as a workaholic, and Tasha, the youngest, is a detective. I picked a character from this trio because I myself have 2 sisters. I'm not the youngest, I am the middle child, and I feel like that maybe explains a little too much about who I am as a person. But I did not decide to draw the middle child, as pretty as she is, because what is the art fightiest thing to do of all art fight time? Pick the character with the fewest art attacks, and Tasha didn't have any, and I didn't think it was fair that her sisters each had 1 and she had none. So I blocked in the colors first for this drawing because I didn't actually initially think that I wanted to do line art, but after the colors went down and I sort of stepped back from the piece a little bit, I realized I really liked how the sketch looked, and I didn't want to lose the sharpness of the lines in rendering it in my painty style, so I went back in and did line art and corrected the color shapes afterwards. I do think it is kind of fun and satisfying to see line art in speed paint mode because you can only kind of see how often I undo and redo drawing the same line over and over again just to get the right curve shape. To get a little more insight into Tasha's character, I reached out to YumiAoi, who was very kind to share a really sweet story about a bakery mystery and Tasha's character development. The story starts with Kana and Anka insisting that Tasha is being far too arrogant in claiming that she's a detective since she hasn't solved any real big mysteries. So Tasha is determined to prove otherwise to them. There had been repeated vandalisms of a local bakery, but with no sign of forced entry, and the town was completely baffled by the mystery. Tasha was determined to solve it. So one night Tasha decides to hide in the bakery to see if she can catch the criminal in action, only to find out that the mess was caused by none other than the baker's puppy. But still, mystery solved. The bakery owners are eternally grateful for their new friend. The puppy is also very grateful for its new friend, and Tasha begins to build her reputation as a detective. And on that very wholesome note, we come to the end of my drawing of Tasha. Thank you again to YumiAoi for this super fun character. I love a good detective. I was gonna say the idea of solving mysteries was a huge part of my childhood, but I gotta be honest, I have so many listening hours into just true crime and criminal interrogations. So I guess it's fair to say that mysteries are still a very big part of my life. But if you would like to bookmark some of Yumi's work for next year or check out more art, links to YumiAoi's ARTFIGHT Tumblr and Instagram are all in the description. And now for what is probably the most normal attack I've made this week, and by normal I don't mean better or worse, I just mean pretty much fully rendered in my usual style and of a not super dynamically posed D&D character. Meet Dendro's character, Anathema Starless. Anathema is a tiefling gloomstalker ranger with a lot of cool details. Before I dive straight into the incredible lore, I do want to make sure I take a moment to appreciate the unique shape of this corset along with the attention to detail when it comes to the straps for the knife, the quiver, and what I think are two hand axes or other similar weapons strapped to her back. When I make my belts and straps and stuff, it's just a bunch of pretty but semi-believable nonsense. So I do always think it's so good of artists who take the time to actually consider what each of those hold and how they might weigh down the character. Alright, so the lore. Now, when Dendro said in Anathema's description that she has an obligatory traumatic backstory, I was sat. And as per my request, Dendro sent me an incredible and very nicely condensed but still super informative version of the backstory and the campaign's goings-ons. So, before Anathema set out to wander the world with her party, she lived in a relatively small village riddled with large cracks in the earth. Now, these cracks are actually as a result of a massive battle between gods and devils and champions and monsters, holes through which nightmarish creatures of the underworld could be pulled out by a malicious deity and used in battle. As a result, monsters plague the village and surrounding areas frequently, and Anathema is part of a special unit trained to hunt down and eradicate such monsters. On a scouting trip, she began tracking a large group of creatures, only to learn just a little too late that they were headed to her village. Though Anathema fought tooth and nail to save the village, many were lost or taken hostage. And in an attempt to resolve the situation, she set off to rescue those who had been taken, many of which were her childhood friends and neighbors. However, she once again was just a little too late. She returned home, alone and dejected, and to make matters worse, the village blamed her for the loss. So as punishment, they cracked her horns and removed them, banished her from the village, and cursed her so that she could never find her way home by removing her ability to navigate by and see the stars. And thus she was named Starless. And I am so short on time for talking about the campaign itself, so we gotta go fast. But after mysteriously blacking out and awakening in a dungeon, she finds herself in the company of 3 strangers: a Goliath devoted to a sun goddess, an orcish barbarian turned paladin, and a dwarven/Durgar druid with an ambiguous relation to the undead. I have no idea what that means, but that is a direct quote from Dendro, and it's incredible. Again, I'm out of time, but I just want to briefly recap the shenanigans. There are cultist rituals with them as the chosen specific sacrifice. There's a lot of almost falling out of hot air balloons, off of gliders, off of bridges. There are archdevils, mind control, and an obligatory royal ball episode. There's also a lot of hot people and very low unfortunate charisma rolls to go along with their interactions. And of course, the curse of many a D&D campaign, the super long summer hiatus, just as a major plot point is about to be revealed. But oh Oh my goodness, what a fantastic character. Thank you so much, Dendro, and I'm so sorry I wasn't able to fit all of the lore into the video. Just know that I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. There's nothing I love more than a good lore dump. It might be too much to fit in a video, but it is never too much for me, baby. And once again, this year was Dendro's first year participating in ARTFIGHT. They made some lovely art, including the Inkashi that they drew for me. And if you hope to see them on ARTFIGHT next year, maybe click the link. Give them a follow. I believe they also have a Tumblr, I think. So if they do, I will also link that below. Okay, back to not my usual style. 100% a ton of references were used to create this image because this is a character from a themed D&D campaign and it is so cool. They're doing a Demon Slayer or Kimetsu no Yaiba themed campaign and I'm such a fan of the anime. There's some of the most beautiful art and incredible character design in that series, and upon learning that LiaInTheWalls' character Emiko Matsuyama is a Hashira, I knew I had to try and sort of at least a little bit emulate the Demon Slayer animation art style. Starting with, of course, the good old base of this Rengoku, the goat, because it was the most dynamic pose I could find that also had fairly translatable shapes that also had lighting very much like what I wanted to emulate. In hindsight, I'm not actually 100% sure that this is a screen capture or if it's official art or maybe if a different artist entirely made it. I kind of assumed it was directly from the anime because I could not trace it back to a single artist when I reverse image searched it, but I guess if anyone knows otherwise, please feel free to let me know in the comments. While the good old line art is appearing on screen, I need us all to just appreciate the roller coaster of emotions that the character description of Emiko takes us on. We first learn that she is an ex-ribbon dancer turned demon slayer, which is so cool, so sick. We've already established our love of dancing with a side order of stab at the start of the video. We then find out that the reason she's become a demon slayer is because she's attempting to atone for the guilt she's been carrying with her all these years. What guilt, you might ask? Oh, nothing. Just hiding her brother turned demon until she couldn't contain him any longer, at which point he escaped and massacred the entire circus, both audience and troupe, and not just massacred, but massacred unbeknownst to her and right in front of her as she was blindfolded and in the middle of a stunt. Traumatizing. Absolutely reeling from just trying to absorb the weight of this heavy backstory information when I go on to read the next sentence of the description where Emiko has been told by the Hashira that she needs to have a less serious demeanor because it intimidates the civilians she's trying to help. So, in a very earnest effort to counteract her seriousness, she carries around a book of dad jokes, which she tells to people to make them feel better, and then she promptly over explains. I could be so wrong, but I don't think it's helping. And this is exactly why I love D&D, because where else can you have a self-insert Demon Slayer AU, but you're also a very cool sword-wielding ex-circus performer that somehow proceeds to have the worst social skills known to mankind. Also, speaking of things to love and hate, I just need to say to my beloved friend and fellow artist Terrapin Art, if you are watching, just close your eyes. I know you've been screaming, I know you hate the way I block in my colors because I refuse to lasso select my line art and paint bucket fill the shapes because I'm a miserable human being that prefers to color in the lines manually. Just close your eyes, leave me alone. But as I am once again running out of time to gush over character designs or talk process or scream over lore, LiaInTheWalls is such an incredible artist. Their color theory and shape language is so good. They drew me such a beautiful tonic, the first tonic I received of the year, and so the only way I could possibly feel like my art was good enough to revenge that was to make it not look like my own. I joke, kinda. But I do present Emiko, who is going to either deal you slashing damage or psychic damage. Depends on what hits you first, the sword or the bad joke. I had a super fun time doing my best to recreate the Demon Slayer art style. Thank you so much to LiaInTheWalls for the opportunity to just try out something different. This is our 5th ARTFIGHT user in a row where this year is their first year, which was totally unintentional, but I highly recommend that you take a look at the link below and follow and hope that they will be back with more delicious art for us next year. So on to the next piece, which is a very cute character named Anastasia for user clownfini. And this piece is a revenge piece for the very cute calliope that they drew me. And just to make sure that all involved artists do get credit and also to avoid any confusion, the artist who designed the character is Patch or Pat Patch, who does a lot of work in this very cute style. Anastasia in particular was adopted by clownfini. If you are unfamiliar with adopting art, essentially you're buying ready-made art to gain ownership of a design. Think of it like a Little Caesars hot and ready pizza. It may not have all your favorite toppings, it's kind of just what the pizza company has on hand, but it's already cooked and it's a lot cheaper than ordering a custom pizza. I hope that makes sense and doesn't just confuse you more. But all that just to say, even though the reference art is made by a different artist, the character was purchased by and does belong to clownfini. So as you see at this point, I suddenly remember that I have yet another art process up my sleeve, and that is just throwing the sketch out of the window entirely and instead blocking in shapes and rendering smaller details from there, which is always a super fun strategy because you get a lot less caught up in lines and perfecting details, and you get to spend a lot more time thinking about the space your character takes up on a canvas and the larger shapes and colors involved in the design. I don't often lean on this design process because I don't always have like a huge overarching shape language or color palette decided on from the get-go. Although to be fair, I did use it for the first time, I think, for Merilith, Ezra, and Isegwin, which are to this day some of the most loved character designs on my channel. But in the cases where I don't have to make a ton of color and costume design decisions for the character, just like in ARTFIGHT, it is kind of a nice fast way to chunk out a character vibe without committing to hard lines. And of course, I remember that I have this art style on the last day of July, which is not the last day of ARTFIGHT, but it could have been and it was going to be. The other bonus about the style is that because there are not any construction lines visible during this process, it gets to the final appearance of a rendered state a lot sooner than if I'm working with a sketched base. This is why you might notice in my self-grading assessment of points worth for this piece on ARTFIGHT, I still call them rough sketches, because I do think that even though I submit them and they're fully shaded and look very pretty, I could clean them up and push them further into an even more nicely rendered state. Which again is never to say that I care more or less about one design or another. We're making all the art out of love, but also with respect to our physical and mental limitations. And my physical and mental limitations are that I can't make 20 pieces of revenge art in 3 days. But even if I can't draw all the art forever, I did make this one, and this one was really fun. It's very different from my usual style of character design, but trying new things is exactly what ARTFIGHT is for. So thank you so much, clownfini, for sharing this super fun character design, and also for reminding me that I have other art process strategies in my back pocket for the using. If you're interested in looking at the characters that clownfini has uploaded, or just checking out some of the attacks that they have made, the link to their ARTFIGHT will be in the description. But here we are on the final and most tragic character of the collection, Erienne by Ringtail Art. Most tragic not for anything besides the fact that I didn't record a good 30 minutes of my design process for this, which doesn't mean that Ringtail Art's character gets less screen time. It just maybe means my pen will be flying around the screen slower than usual. I was basically using the same technique that I did with the previous speed draw, so not too much has changed. There's no sketch that you missed, but there is the fact that I was super proud. I felt like I did a super good job of building this base up from the bottom with shadows and everything, and like a lot of work and effort went into making it look nice, and it's fine. I'm not upset with myself at all, and I definitely didn't take like a 10-minute break to go be sad and look at my new dwarf albino aquatic frogs to make me feel better about my problem. Speaking of problems, Erienne is another D&D character, so you know, this bad boy can fit so much traumatic backstory in it. But hey, finally some good middle child representation. She is the middle of 3 children, having an older and a younger brother. She was trained from a very young age in magic and stealth, and from the way that Ringtail describes it, it kind of sounds like a D&D mafia maybe? Which y'all already know that I love that sort of structure. In her late teens, she already begins taking on more important roles of higher rank that involve making deals and negotiations, and even though she's far more skilled in the charisma department than either of her brothers are, it is extremely extremely unlikely that she will ever inherit control of the syndicate that her father runs. At the age of 20, she went through with a somewhat arranged marriage, but at least it was to a friend and not a stranger. And honestly and genuinely, she's very happy and she dearly loves her satyr husband. They live a happy and wealthy life with a kind house staff and a cat named Bartholomew. But of course, we can't just live happily ever after. No, because people with satisfactory lives rarely join risky D&D parties. Erienne's husband mysteriously disappears while on an important business trip, and when none of the hired help comes back with a satisfactory answer to her husband's disappearance, she decides she's going to find him herself. Honestly, she's an icon, she's a legend, she is the moment. But in these last 20 seconds that I have for talking about her, I am so glad that Ringtail Art drew me this adorable calliope so that I could be in the presence of Eri. Truly, I regret not having more time to spend drawing her. She's got everything I like in a character design. Draped fabrics, gold jewelry, fun clothing pieces. I love so much about this design. Ringtail Art did an absolutely fantastic job. But for the last time in this video at least, we have our solo character reveal of Erienne. I've said it all, I'll say it again. I love this design. I wish I had more time to really refine this drawing. I absolutely adore the design decisions Ringtail Art made. They have a ton of super gorgeous character designs that you really should check out and bookmark. They also have Twitter and Instagram and Toy House, all of which will be linked in the description. Ooh, so that covers the first half of this week. What a fun, wacky bunch of styles. Sure, these were all drawn by me, but they all have such different vibes about them. It is kind of cool to see like a full range of the different art styles and techniques that I'm capable of. Also, every time I get to this point of lining them all up together, I can't help but think of them as one weird, wacky D&D party. But enough about my art. It's time for me to activate my Watch Mojo mode and share 10 of beautiful art pieces that I've received through the end of last week and the beginning of this week. Number 1 is a really cute traditionally drawn and cut out paper craft of calliope done by pearlshroom. By my request, they also sent me more pictures so I could see the dimension and layers and things, and it is so cool. It's such a cool art style and art process, so thank you so much to pearlshroom. Number 2 is another traditionally drawn art piece of calliope, but this time done by aoihibiki, and I cannot get over the details. All the lace and the ribbons and the little strawberry detail in the back of the corset is everything. Calliope would die of joy if she could even touch this outfit, so thank you so much, aoihibiki. Number 3 is a return artist, Happy Flopsy, with a huge mass attack that I think is so clever. Happy Flopsy made a huge pinboard of all the different characters she had bookmarked to draw for ARTFIGHT, and then made a mass attack that's sort of ARTFIGHTception where she draws herself lamenting that she hasn't drawn the characters yet. Don't think too hard about it, just check out the little Ziola. Ah, it's so cute. Thank you so much, Happy Flopsy, for including me in yet another piece. Number 4, we have Nameless and Afraid with an epic and dynamic tonic piece. Clean line art, so scrunkly, and also so carefully paying attention to details with the patches on her coat, her various earrings, everything. I really love how this turned out. The vibes are spot on, immaculate. Thank you very much, Nameless and Afraid. Number 5, we have a pixel animated walk cycle for Fing done by tukierownik. I love the color choices. I love his little shield swaying back and forth. Everything about this is so stinking perfect. Also, animated ARTFIGHT attacks are just so cool. It's such a treat to be on the receiving end of something like this. Thank you so much again to the very talented tukierownik for this lovely walk cycle. Number 6 is art of Ziola and Fing done by Green Frog 4. They said that it was a bit of a struggle attack, which is big mood. But Green Frog, I think you've done an incredible job with both of these characters. They're so vibrant and animated. It is just lovely. It's wonderful to look at. Thank you so much. Number 7 is by Idiotdoodoohead, and that is his username. I promise I am not just making fun of people on the internet. He drew this, and I'm speechless. Terrapin Art and I were absolutely ecstatic to see our girls Serena and Calliope drawn together for the very first time for ARTFIGHT. Crying, screaming, deceased, and just thank you so very much. Number 8 is another papercraft style art piece, this time by Haywire 101, and it is so cute. I love the textures and the shapes of his head. Also, I'm so obsessed with the white sparkles and the stars in the background. He just looks so noble and full of ambition, and that's perfect. you nailed it. Everyone, y'all are so talented out here. Thank you so much. Number 9 is Io, which is perfect because 3 times 3 is 9, and Io loves the number 3, and I love Kamikan's drawing of Io, which is so clean, so shapy. And you know what else I love? I really love seeing people remark about the little character descriptions I write for my characters. Kamikan did briefly mention my description, and it's just so nice. Like, oh, somebody read my character description. I don't know, is that silly? Either way, thank you so much, Kamikan. And number 10 is another super adorable tonic, and I know the point is the character part of the drawing, which is incredible. I especially love the way that BugBuggie renders fabric and the liquid in the potion bottles, but I also want to shout out the cute potions in the background of the design because that's adorable and I love it. Thank you so much, BugBuggie. But with that, we are at the end of week 5, part 1. I apologize for splitting it up into 2 videos. I usually don't like to do that. I promise I'm not just trying to stretch the content for views. I did just want to make sure that I got everyone included and all the days fully covered with plenty of time just in case. And I think it's time to admit it. I apologize for probably not being able to revenge everyone this year. I received so much incredible art, and you all deserve beautiful art revenge that isn't rushed and sad and miserable. So I'm sorry. Unless I did revenge everyone, in which case I'm not sorry at all. That is very, very unlikely, but who knows? Not me.